Hello everybody and welcome back to Slurpee Films. Today we will be looking at the SH Monsterarts Mothra and Rodan 2019 Twin Pack. This figure pack showcases Mothra and Rodan as they appeared in the 2019 movie Godzilla King of the Monsters. Today we're going to be starting off by looking at the Mothra figure. We'll start looking at Mothra by checking out the paint application with the figure. You'll notice one of the first things about this figure is that the oranges are very kind of saturated. They're dark, they're bright, kind of at the same time, and it gives it more of a kind of like a plastic look to it. The arms are that kind of orange-red material. The antennae are the cream that we've seen before, and the eyes still retain their silverish blue hue to it. The wings themselves, the blacks are deep, the creams are nice, the oranges have a good shading down through the yellow, and even the eyes, Mothra's wing spot eyes, look very nice. One of the things that I've noticed with this figure that I really appreciate is you're able to see kind of the veins that are running through the figure, as well as a slight texture kind of replicating the scales that you would see on a moth or butterfly. If you rotate the figure around and look at the back, you have that same kind of texture on the back of the wing here, the veins and the scales. Looking at the body, you have a decent amount of texture here. You kind of see there's different layerings down along the back. The legs look pretty good from the back, as do our smaller set of wings. The articulation on Mothra is quite limited when we look at the arms. Her kind of praying mantis arms, they can rotate up and they can rotate down. At least the two main arms can. So see on this side. They are a little tight at first, but after a little loosening, they will come undone. The two small arms in the center here seem to be on a ball joint, but even with those, it's kind of hard to get them posed correctly. Back legs here, kind of same as before. They are, oops. I'll just take that off the stand. The back legs are kind of hard to rotate, but I mean, it is what you get with this kind of figure. The main part of the articulation that I want to talk about today is the wing articulation, which is rather disappointing if I am saying so, or with my opinion. So if we look at the back here, the wings are actually attached by kind of like a ball and socket, meaning that they can rotate really well, like this, but with that rotation, they don't really hold their pose well, at least if you give it a flapping motion. I often think about the scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters where Mothra is introduced in the Battle of Boston. You know, she's flying down from the sky and her wings are completely back, kind of give her a very streamlined position. Problem with this figure is they don't hold that. That ball socket joint isn't necessarily tight enough for it to hold a dynamic pose like that. So when I put it back into the stand, if I wanted to recreate that pose, right, I put the wings back, but they can only bend back so far between before they start kind of, as you saw, falling back down into place. This is kind of the same issue that the NECA Mothra saw. So although they have a great rotation, as you can see, rotating like this, they can't flap or go in any other range. The rotation is great, but other than that, like I said, the articulation in the wings is rather lacking, or at least it isn't up to the standard that you'd expect with the SH Monsterarts line. Moving back into the positives with this figure, you are given a Tamashii Nation stand, which goes really well with the Mothra. I think it's a decent upgrade from the stand that was provided with the NECA Mothra figure, being that you can change the height of the Mothra figure up or down. You can have it leaning back as if defending, So this is definitely a plus. I think the inclusion of this kind of stand with the figure is desperately needed. You'll notice first off the head is very well detailed, has a nice bright orange in the eye, and the tongue is a deep pink that really contrasts the dark reddish color of the body. You'll notice on the shoulders there is an underlying black layer with kind of a muddy red over top. That color scheme is across the entire body, including the wings. Speaking of the wings, that is one of the gripes with this figure, is that there is no real color variation. There really is no color variation of the wings. You'll see it's all that muddy red across. There's no of the black that we saw on the shoulders. Or there might be some near the tail, but for the most part, all the color here is uniform. We don't have the red tipped wings that we saw in the movie, like the lava. And the tail itself is also that same kind of red material. Rodan's feet look nice. They have the black paint, same as the shoulders, down into the claws, while still having the muddy red that is present in the rest of the body. Articulation in the figure is limited. The shoulders, wings can move up and down. They can come in, kind of a flapping. The area that I get disappointed here is when you have the wings out to kind of have a flying pose, such as here, they don't really extend backwards any more than this. You can stress it, but you can definitely feel the joints resisting that kind of movement. The legs can rotate out, they can swivel, bend at the knee. This is really nice, the articulation that we're given on the feet. So you can get a variety of poses. As you saw, my right foot on Rodan is a bit loose. Luckily, it is not that hard to get it back in. There we go. We have some articulation on the tail, articulation of the waist, so it can bend left and right. A good bend down and a decent arch back. Our head and neck can rotate. Rodan can look down as well as looking up, and the mouth articulation is pretty good. I think they both look pretty good here. For comparisons today, we are going to be comparing the 2019 Rodan to the NECA 2019 Rodan. Off the bat, you'll notice the paint application, as I've stated previously. The wings on the Rodan from NECA look excellent. You have reds in amongst the scales as well as the tips of the wings. Same on the back, and this color application just isn't there with the SH Monsterarts, which I really wish it would have. That being said, I think that the burgundy on the SH Monsterarts looks better than the black that we see on the Rodan here. I wish we would have had the burgundy that is on the Monsterarts with the red tipped wings of the NECA. To me, that would be the ideal paint application for this figure. Other than that, again, the NECA here, it does have an extra point of articulation at the wrists, allowing for the wings to kind of fold down into each other. Something else that the SH Monsterarts doesn't have that I wish it did. With that being said, that is where the similarities, or I should say the differences end, or at least those are the areas for the NECA that I think it beats the SH Monsterarts on. They're both excellent figures and they both have their pros and cons. I think that the articulation of the rest of the body, for instance, on the SH Monsterarts is better, being that you can articulate the feet a little bit more, because on the NECA, there's only a joint where the legs attach to the hips. For Mothra, other than the paint application, these two figures are very, very similar, being that they each have articulation just at the legs, where the legs attach to the body, and the wings with the NECA. This is kind of like that pose I was hoping that the SH Monsterarts would have been able to replicate, which has the wings coming all the way back, but of course they don't hold their pose well, much like the SH Monsterarts doesn't hold their pose well. So on both figures are kind of limited to just having the there we go. You're just kind of limited to having the figures in that kind of default wings down pose. This is where the pros for the SH Monsterarts outweigh the cons of the NECA, being that with the stand that NECA provides you, Mothra is always kind of at this flying level, whereas the SH Monsterarts and the stand that they provide, you can have Mothra facing you, right? You have the stand facing down. You can have Mothra in a variety of poses that aren't just a straight on look at it. For the price point here, I think you're getting an excellent addition to your SH Monsterarts line, being that it is a double pack with two very different figures. So I think the price is justified. That being said, there are some cons to these figures that you need to be aware of. Like I said, the articulation and the wings for Rodan and Mothra both leave a decent amount that you would want to see fixed. That being said, I still would recommend you picking these guys up to add to your collection. They look excellent with the 2019 Godzilla figure as well as the 2019 SH Monsterarts King Ghidorah.